What up, YouTube? It's your boy, JB, here today with the review for the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City Reunion Part 3. So, you guys, the season is officially over. Before we get into the review, I actually have to say that with the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, for this first season, it has been a good one. I have enjoyed it so much. I've enjoyed doing these reviews. Thank you guys so much for watching and supporting me with these reviews. I appreciate all the love you guys have appreciate it. So let's go ahead and get into this review, shall we? All right, guys. So we pick up where the last one left off. And you guys remember in the last one, Lisa stormed off of the set and she was so upset. And in this part, she's done a 180. It's like she's not upset anymore. She comes back out on stage. I'm like, oh, okay. So now we're joined by the men. So Seth and Robert are there virtually. Justin is there in person. Sharif is there in person. And so is somebody else's husband I'm missing. Oh, John, Lisa's husband. I'm like, who the hell am I missing? I always forget about John. I always forget about that man. So, we see a montage of the men. So Andy asked Lisa the first question because a viewer asked a question about, Lisa throwing out, the Rolex of John. So Lisa's like, it was my birthday. He had picked me. It's so funny. It's funny that you threw a Rolex out the window, but okay. So she said it was so funny. He picked me up from the airport and it was actually my birthday. And I'm like, don't you have something to say to me? And he's, she had gifted him a Rolex for his birthday. I guess she said it was a few days before. It was like, here, you can take your Rolex back. So she threw it out the window. Well, you know what? After she said would I have thrown it out the window? No. I would have slapped his ass. I would have slapped him. But, she thought it was funny. He got it back. So then we move over to Sharif. And we discuss, Sharif, is football more important to Sharif than his family? And Sharif says, no, it's not. So Sharif is talking about his father-in-law. Sharif said that he saw his father-in-law, did he say in his last week? And his father-in-law spoke only to him. So Sharif is saying that Jen blamed him for not being there because she felt that if Sharif was there, that, her father wouldn't have taken. That's a slippery slope to say that, though. That you want to blame him because from what it sounded like, she wanted to blame him for her father's death. I mean, if the man was on his deathbed, even if Sharif came, there wasn't much that Sharif could do at that point. It's up to God. Jen needs some help. Some psychological help. Just saying. But Sharif said that he went to the wake. Now, I can't even say I understand what he was trying to say. Because the wake, I get it. You went to the wake, but why weren't you at the funeral? Was at your wife's side. The wake? The wake. You can come to the wake with her and you go to the funeral with your wife. Be there with your family. But, if she likes it, I love it. So then we talk about Justin being excommunicated from the Mormon church. Justin said about 10 years ago, he got a letter from the Mormon church telling him he was no longer part of the church. I'm like, so they basically just fired you from the Mormon church. So all the money that I've given you guys, y'all can run me that money back. Run me my money back. So the reason he was, we all know the reason he was excommunicated is because of Whitney and his relationship. Him being married, her being married, them having an affair with each other, and that's why they got excommunicated. Yeah, I don't understand a Mormon church at all. Even Lisa tried to jump in because Heather was talking about, that's kind of similar to her situation, her being divorced. And Lisa and John, Lisa actually chimed in saying that John is actually in his, he's divorced he was divorced and her parents were divorced, but, they're all still a part of the church. Again, you guys, I don't understand a Mormon church. And I don't ever intend to. Okay, I'll text you back in just a little bit. Yeah, I don't understand Mormon church, and I don't ever intend to. So then Andy's talking to Robert Sr. So Andy asked Robert Sr. why was he so hesitant about Mary joining the show? And Robert says that, because of the stuff that's actually happened. Now, when I say some of the things that I say, it's in jokes. Like me, when I said at the beginning of the season about Mary and her grandfather, everything that I was saying was just jokes. I didn't mean it literally, seriously, or anything like that. And I've said it plenty of times. What works for Mary and Robert it definitely wouldn't work for me, but it works for them. And if Mary and Robert are happy, I can't judge them. Like, I can't. And I don't think we should. I don't feel like we should. Again, like I said, is it something that's we understand? No. But obviously it works for these two. And like I said a few minutes ago, if it works for them, if they're happy, and if it makes them happy, who am I to say boo, cat, dog, anything like that? What works for them works for them. And that's all I got to say when it comes to Mary and Robert. I have a lot of, actually, we do have a lot of I respected Robert in this scene because he stood up for Mary. He praised Mary for being a good person. I don't think Mary is a bad person. I really don't think she's a bad person. I think Mary is she's very quirky for one. She's very quirky. She is not really good with her words. She's not, because in one scene, she said the word embedded when she meant embedded, but we'll talk about that in just a little bit. So yeah, I don't think Mary is a bad person. I just think Mary is, I'm not gonna say misunderstood because I don't think she's misunderstood. I just think Mary is very quirky, not good with her words, and that's really it. But I don't think I really don't think she's a bad person. I don't. And I know people don't care for Mary. I get that. And also, you guys, in the comment section, let's be respectful of me and the others. And don't think that I'm not defending anything that Mary has said. I'm just giving a different perspective. If you guys understand I'm giving a different perspective. But I don't think she's a bad person. I really don't. Do I think her church is a cult? Absolutely. But yeah, I just don't yeah, with Mary, she's an interesting character. She's interesting. She is very interesting and kooky. That's another one. Quirky, kooky, and not great with her words at all. So where are we at? So Andy asked, Sharif and Robert, respectively, what do they feel about their wives getting into it with each other? Sharif said, he told Jen, if you get into it with these women on this show, that's going to be you and the women. He's not getting involved with it, and I respect that. And Robert says, he just hated seeing the things that were said about his wife, which, I mean, come on, you guys. We got to be honest. When Jen said, you're going to go with Mary, who fucks her grandfather, that was low. I mean, very, very low. Again, does anybody understand Mary and Robert's relationship? Probably not. But it's not for us to judge. The only person who can judge us is the man above. That is the only person who can judge us. And so if I'm not him, I can't judge anybody. Sharif does apologize, to Robert for that, which I think I might have got ahead of myself. No, I didn't. All right, so yeah, I didn't get ahead of myself. But yeah, Sharif apologized. Now, you can't defend Jen, but that's neither here nor there. Let's move on. All right, you guys, next we talk about Whitney. I will say that this scene with Whitney was actually very, very sad. So we discussed her dad. So Whitney says that, she hasn't talked to her dad. He won't, she texts him, calls him, but he won't respond to her. So then Andy asks her, so was this because of the show? She says she doesn't know, but she says she was hopeful that with the show that, they could sit back and watch it and, that he could be, a helpful to someone else who was probably, who's probably going through that same situation. And she said, she saw him like after the show wrapped, she did see him. She actually saw him for her birthday, but after her birthday, she hasn't heard from him since. She says she does text him every day. And so Andy says, well, do the text messages go through? She says, yes, they do go through. He just doesn't respond to me. And, I really hope and pray that he has not gotten back on drugs. Like, I really hope and pray that that's not the case. So then Andy asks, her, does he do her hair? She says, no, he doesn't do my hair. He just cuts it. So then Andy says, well, we got a lot of questions about his hair. Is that a wig on his head? She's like, nope, that's not a wig. That's his real hair. I was like, oh, God, that was his hair? He should really... It was greasy. It's flat. It's a mess. You know what? Let's be respectful of the man. Let's be respectful. So then we move over to Seth and Meredith. And, Andy is asking them questions about their marriage. And I noticed that Meredith was the only one who was answering the questions at first about their marriage. And then, Andy clocked that as well. And she's like, well, these ladies talk so much about my marriage, so I don't feel like I should discuss it with them. Meredith is so monotone. She only has one tone to her voice. Seth and I's marriage is our marriage. So Andy asked her the question, so, prior to filming of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, is it true that you guys had filed for divorce and then you withdrew the petition? So she says, yes, before the show, Seth had filed for divorce, but he did withdraw it. So then Andy asked them, because, we see a lot of couples on The Real Housewives, when they start these shows, they're usually married, but then throughout the course of the seasons on the show, we start to see the cracks in the marriage, and then the marriage is dissolved. I mean, we have really saw a lot of marriages break up on The Real Housewives. I mean, let me just think of some of the most notable ones that I remember. I mean, let's talk about New York. Bethany and what was her husband's name? Their marriage broke apart. Bethany and her husband. Oh, the one that I will never forget. Camille Grammer and Kelsey Grammer. Oh, that was terrible. Camille and Kelsey. Taylor and her, I forget what her ex-husband's name was. May he rest in peace. Although she said he abused her. I don't condone that. Taylor and her ex-husband, Adrian Malouf and Paul. And then Paul remarried, and a younger woman at that. Adrian and Paul. Who else? Ooh, what is Yolanda and David? Yolanda and David. Damn. Yolanda and David. Tamara and her husband Vicky. Oh God, all these. I mean, who else? I mean, the list can go on. The list goes on and on and on. That Dimwit Kelly died. Shannon Bedore. Oh God, Atlanta. Nene and Greg had broke up but got back together. Portia and Cordell. Lord, it has been a lot of divorces in the Real Housewives family. Nobody from Dallas. New Jersey. Who? I'm trying to think. From New Jersey. Oh, Teresa and Joe. Are they divorced? That's neither here nor there. But Meredith says, that being on this show has helped them with their marriage. I'm like, how? And I guess, them filming, they couldn't keep anything off the table, so it actually made them deal with their issues. I'm like, okay. I mean, I guess if you want to say that. I mean, I guess. Let's move on. All right, you guys, and we're gonna wrap the episode up. So Lisa broke down talking about Seth and Meredith's marriage. Oh God, she annoyed me in this scene, and so did I. As much as I love Heather, Heather annoyed me because she was coming down on Lisa about her 1 minute talking about her parents being divorced and John being divorced, but now she doesn't want Meredith and Seth to divorce. I'm like, Heather, let's stop beating the dead horse with the stick, because that's all we're doing at this point. It's just beating a dead horse with a stick. So then we just, Andy wants to talk to Jen about her talking about Meredith and Seth's marriage, and Jen doesn't want to talk about it. I'm like, really? But you had so much shit to say about it this whole entire season. So Jen is like, since Meredith and Seth are back together, I really don't want to discuss that at all. I'm like, really, girl? Really, Jen? You don't want to discuss Seth and Meredith's marriage because they're back together, but you had no problem talking about it this entire season. You went and told everybody who would listen. And I'm not gonna sit here and fault Jen completely, because Heather and Whitney did not have to entertain that conversation with her. They could have told, Jen easily, you know what, Jen, whatever goes on between Seth and Meredith ain't got nothing to do with me. Here's Heather. This could be Heather. I'm divorced. I don't want that. If I know what that feels like. I wouldn't wish that on them, but don't tell me that. Whitney, you've been through it. I've been through a divorce. I wouldn't wish it on them, so let's not put negative shit in the air. Easy peasy. All right, so then we move back over to Jen. Jen is just really draining. I just gotta put it out there. She's draining as hell. So Andy asked ladies, how many people think Jen is a loyal person? Or do anybody think that she's something to the effect, or do you think she's loyal, or do you think she's not loyal? Something like that. Where they have to raise their hands, basically saying that they don't think she's loyal. So everybody raised their hands that she's not a loyal person, with the exception of Lisa. And Jen says, thank you, Lisa. I'm like, Lisa, you are really a flip-flopper. Because if Meredith is your girl, Lisa, you ain't loyal. And I'm not going to sit here and say that you got to pick sides about whose side you're on, but Jen ain't loyal. If Jen was a loyal person is not going to go around spreading another person's business. I don't give a damn how mad you are at the person. You won't go around spilling somebody else's tea. So then, Meredith's like, Jen, can I ask you a question? And she's like, yes. So Meredith says, so if I did the things to you that you did to me this season, would you then think that I'm a loyal person? And Jen pauses for a minute. No. But you want to make it all on me. That's not what she said. She didn't make it all about you. She asked you because you got mad when everybody raised their hands that you're not loyal. All Meredith was doing was putting a mirror up to your face. She was putting a mirror up to your face. She was saying to you, what you did to me, the way you talked about my marriage with Seth, had I done that to you, would you then consider me a loyal person to you? Your answer was no, which is true. You weren't loyal to Meredith at all. So then, I don't know how we got into this conversation about Jen and Heather. I know we were talking about, in Vegas when Jen said that, she didn't trust Heather. And they were talking about when they were at the hot springs. Jen has a lot of nerve. So she said that, I don't know if this was on social media or what, that she tweeted it or whatever, but she said that Heather looks like she buys off the rack at Dress Barn. And then she said Heather's an actress, but the only role that she could go up for is a manatee or Shrek. I was like, oh, no, she didn't. When you sitting here looking like Jigsaw. You look like Jigsaw, but you gonna say that this girl could be a manatee or Shrek? Okay, Jen. Okay. So now the best part of this scene was Mary, because the camera kept panning to Mary. She was like this at one point, then she was like this. So Andy said, Mary, what do you think about the situation between Heather and Jen? And Mary was looking like a deer in headlights at that point. And she was like, he said, did you fall asleep? I don't know. Mary, you fell asleep. I don't blame her. But she did say that, when Jen raised her hand, she felt like that was a dig at Heather, which it absolutely was a dig at Heather. Jen tries to give some cockamamie excuse about why she did it. It was just that, an excuse. So then we move into this scene that like really pissed me off with Jen. I don't even need my notes for this because I can freeball this. So Jen, she is a person of color. I'm definitely not going to take that away from Jen. She's a person of color. She is a person of color that bleaches her skin, but she's a person of color nonetheless. So Jen is talking to the ladies about them calling her aggressive. And then she's talking about how offensive that is to a colored woman. Why did she say colored woman? Why didn't you say a woman of color? Because you said a colored woman. Nobody uses that term. So, and she tried to bring Mary into this conversation. And that's where Mary said that she felt like with Whitney and Heather, it's embedded in them. I'm like, Mary is embedded, but okay. Okay. Do I think that Whitney and Heather are racist? No. Because that's what Jen was throwing out there. Racist. Jen, just because your husband is black and you have black penis in your life, it doesn't mean you're black and you have two black sons. That doesn't make you black. Yes, you are a person of color. I will give you that. I'm not going to take that away from you. But number one, you are very much so an aggressive person. And then she's talking about the fact, the things that she said, that if you said that a person of color would be in handcuffs. Jen, you said that you would drown the bitch in a pool in her backyard. That is a threat. I know you might not have meant, it might have been something that you were just saying for shock value, whatever. But that's still a threat. I'm gonna drown a bitch in a pool. Like, I want Jen to stop trying to take on the strife and the plight of a black person, a black man or a black woman. I want her to stop taking that on. It's one thing to be an ally for us. It's one thing to be an ally, be there for us, be in support of us, but don't take on the strife. Because you as a person, even you as a person of color, if you get pulled over by the cops, they're not going to treat you like they would someone who looks like me with my skin tone. They're not going to treat you like me. When they look at you, they're going to see a white woman because of your skin, because you bleach your skin so much. They're going to see a white woman. They're going to see a white woman because, again, your skin is bleached. They're going to see you as white, and they're not going to look at you as a threat. But if I get pulled over or Mary gets pulled over, it's not going to be the same with you. It's not going to be the same. So stop taking on a struggle that's not yours. Be an ally. Be in support of Black Lives Matter. Be in support of, LGBT rights. Be in support of all of that stuff. But don't make someone else's struggle your own. You can't do that. And I think and that's one of the reasons that I don't like Jen. That's really one of the reasons why. But that's the reunion, guys. Great season. Let me leave your comments in the comment section below. Let me know what you guys thought about the season, the reunion, everything. Let's be respectful of one another. Share this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell notification button so you guys are aware when I drop anything else. And also, you guys go subscribe to the Planner channel for me. And stay safe, take care of yourselves, wash your hands, wear your mask, and social distance. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys. So Real Housewives of New Jersey, that'll be up tomorrow. Bye.